Right, I think I'm live. I'm kind of doing this to again test out my camera. For some blooming mad reason, it keeps going in and out of focus, and there's no reason it should do it. Every so often, when I'm being interviewed, some people think it's strange. I think it's strange, but maybe it isn't strange. Maybe it's just going bonkers. In fact, my entire computer's going a bit nuts at the moment on account of the fact that it's run out of memory. And I'm getting a new one, but it's taking its time to arrive. So anyway, this is a kind of test thing. And anyway, I will be talking again about my and Jodi's book, Strange Fate, plug. Oh, it looks backwards to me, like in a mirror. Then again, you can kind of read backwards, I assume. Maybe it's the right way around your end. Anyway, there you go. Strange Fate, which is a true story of paranormal adventure. Now, a lot of you know bits and pieces that are involved. I'm just going to concentrate today on talking about some of the seemingly what appear to be universe changes, where reality has changed about us while we were investigating the mystery. The bottom line of what the research was all about is there was this secret society in the 19th century who hid this mystical relic they claimed to have possessed called the Heart of the Rose. It was a small rose quartz stone carved in the shape of a heart, and it was said to have the power to influence fate, fortune, and destiny. And they hid this somewhere when the group broke up around the year 1900. They left a series of clues as to where it was in paintings and sculptures and elsewhere. And Jodi and I followed this trail of clues. Now, while this was going on, remember, this stone was supposed to be able to alter destiny, fate, and actual circumstances. And circumstances seem to really change about us. Now, because so many of them happened, I've had to have written them down on a list. So I shall just mention a few of them. By the way, I'm actually putting together a movie, or will be putting together quite a maybe a half-hour video about the story of Strange Fate, in the same way as I did about the Green Stone. That seems to have been very popular. So I'm doing that, but I'm just got to get my new computer because this one has ran out of space. I've literally deleted everything from it I possibly can for it still to work. But until I've got the new computer, the Pinnacle, which is the editing suite, just doesn't function properly. It takes hours to do anything. Anyway, so here are some of these strange events. To start off with, the research I've been doing into Bidolf Grange, which was where this secret society met in the 19th century. It's in just north of a place called Stoke-on-Trent in Moorlands, called the Peak District in central England. And the house, Bidolf Grange, that was where all these people met and did all these weird and wonderful things and believed they could change fate by using this stone and other things. The place they met burnt down. In all the research I'd done over the years, said 1897. Other people I knew did similar research into this place, and they concurred that the records showed that it burnt down in 1897. The place is now open to the public. You go there, and all the little information boards they have around said the fire was in 1897. Jodi and I visited the place, talked to a few people, looked at the various display boards they had around. The fire, 1897. We went to a burial mound, which is not far to the north of this Bidolf Grange, because it came into the story. We went there, and this most weird storm suddenly broke out. There was thunder and lightning and torrential rain where we were, but all around there, it was just sunshine. It was just absolutely weird. When we went back to Bidolf Grange again, we suddenly discovered that the signboards all said the fire was in 1896. All the staff that worked there said it was 1896, 1 year earlier than we'd been believing for years. All the guidebooks said it was 1896. Now, this is the weird bit. All my own research still said 1897, as did Jodi's. But a lot of people that had also been doing research into the place said, oh, no, it definitely happened the fire was definitely in 1897, not 96. I've researched it many times. But so we were kind of joking, have we jumped universes? Is the multiverse real? I mean, but the thing was, if we had jumped universes, then a load of other people who'd been researching Bidolf Grange had jumped with us, and so had all mine and Jodi's notes and what we'd written on our computers and so forth. So we put it down to something called the Mandela effect. That basically is shared false memories of something. It came about because the South African president, Nelson Mandela, spent many years in prison before he was eventually released. Apartheid was overthrown and he became president. And people throughout the world, thousands, maybe millions, swore that they remember the news about him dying in custody in jail. So how could he be still alive to become president? Well, that's obviously some kind of, or it's assumed to be some kind of false memory shared by different people. And it's known as the Mandela effect. So we just thought, well, that's probably what it is. Until we went to see a house that we'd been viewing a few weeks before. The house ties up with the story of everything we were doing to do with the Strange Fate investigation. But I won't go into all the details. But what it was there was an old ruined place, but you could get into it, and the landowner showed us around, Jodi and I, and we filmed there. And I also went round there with somebody else, a friend of mine, Storm Constantine. She came round as well, and we filmed the place. And the guy was very, helpful, the landowner. And Jodi and I went back there. When we went back there again, this guy had no idea who we were. He had absolutely no idea of meeting me, Storm, Jodi, or having anything to do with us. And we just thought, what? Maybe he's, very forgetful. But we said, can we have a look around this place that's on your grounds? And he said, well, yes, you can, but it's all boarded up. You can see the outside. I said, no, we went inside a few weeks ago, and he kind of brushed it off. We got there and it was all boarded up. There was like metal shutters and boarding all over the windows and doors, and it was rusted away. You could see by the screws and the rivets that it had been there for years and nobody had gone inside. That wasn't like it a couple of weeks earlier. I said to him, look, we went inside with you. I even showed him video footage of us wandering around with him, and that really creeped him out. And he said, well, you better go. He just couldn't handle it. So that kind of started making us think we really had jumped into another universe. But the thing was that it wasn't just that. I'm reading from the list here now. There's a small town or village really called Abbots Bromley, which isn't too far away from Bidolf Grange and where all these things were going on. And it was myself and Jodi and other friends of mine, Debbie, who many of you know, Debbie Cartwright, Van Cartwright went there. There was loads of different people who went there on one particular year, May Day, and there was Morris dancers galore. You know, those things in England where people dress up in white outfits and have bells and pieces of ribbons hanging from them and do traditional dancing. You get both Morris men and Morris women, Morris persons, I suppose you call them now. Anyway, these Morris persons, there was always lots of them at this place called Abbots Bromley on May Day. So we went back the following year, quite a lot of us, the following year to again see this May Day celebration. And everyone says, no, we don't have Morris dancers here. They do actually at that place have their own, what they call horn dancers, which are people who dress up in medieval costume and dance around once a year in September. And they said, well, that's the only people we have. We don't have Morris dancers here ever. But you had them last year. No, we don't. We asked people in pubs. We asked all the locals. We thought maybe they're just having us on. The following year, we went back. There was Morris dancers all over the place again. And then the research that Jodi and I were doing took place over a number of years. So this was during this period. And then the last time we went there, last year, not a single Morris person, not a single Morris dancer anywhere. And we were talking to people in the pub, and I thought, yeah, they can't be making it. They can't all be in on this. And what's the purpose of it? We showed them photographs taken of dozens of Morris persons in this town, village, and they got really weird about it. They said, oh, that's a fake. It's deep fake. What's the point in deep faking 100 Morris dancers in an English village? Besides which, I don't know anybody who's got the knowledge to even do that. So that was happening for seemingly no apparent reason, swapping backwards and forth between two universes where this village does have Morris dancers and doesn't. I mean, what's all that about? Okay, here we go. If that seems strange, how about an entire theme park appearing from nowhere? A lot of the research we did involved the mystery of Alice in Wonderland. Mary Heath, who was one of the people who ran this Order of Nehemiah group that met at Bidolf Grange, that possessed this stone, the eye of the heart of the rose, she inspired part of the story of Alice in Wonderland, particularly Alice Through the Looking Glass. There was another girl a bit later on in Lewis Carroll's life called Alice Liddell, who also inspired some of it. The name Alice was named after her. But if you look at the beginning of the Alice in Wonderland book, the White Rabbit keeps calling Alice Mary Ann. And there's no explanation ever as to why he does this. And no character called Mary Ann ever appears in the book. Mary Ann Heath was Mary Heath's full name. And all her relatives refer to her as Mary Ann. So it does seem as though Lewis Carroll alludes to her in his books. Anyway, she was 7.5 when he met her in 1851. I won't go into the whole background of that. But we were investigating how Mary Heath may have inspired the story of Alice Through the Looking Glass. Incidentally, the looking glass that inspired the story now hangs over the fireplace at the library at Horcross Hall, not far from Burton upon Trent in central England. And it's now a hotel and spa resort, and you can go to the hotel now there, and they actually do afternoon teas Alice in Wonderland style, like the Mad Hatter and everything. They have Alice in Wonderland tea sets and everything. And you can actually sit in the room where the mirror was that inspired the Alice story. And a little girl looking like Alice from the stories is said to be seen in the mirror sometimes, almost like a ghost. Anyway, I digress. Coming back to as we investigated the Alice story, we were driving around a place called Telford, which is, where is it? Shropshire, West Central England. Driving around this town of Telford, quite a busy, large town, looking for a place we were going to, which had nothing to do with Alice at that time. And as we were driving round, we kept ending up at the same roundabout. In England, if you're in America, you probably don't have that many roundabouts, but they're a stupid road system in England, which, throughout the United Kingdom, where you have these, the roads come together, but there's a big roundabout, you have to drive around it, and it also has traffic lights. It's crazy. So we were we kept finding ourselves back at exactly this same roundabout. And even though, the sat-nav had just gone completely haywire, we were using a map, and still we kept going in a straight line, and we ended up back at this roundabout. It was absolutely weird. But then, after looking at every sign on this roundabout again and again for the place we were going, suddenly, after about maybe the 7th or 8th return to it, we saw a sign saying Wonderland. We thought, what? We've just been investigating Alice in Wonderland. And I remember Jodi said, that wasn't there before. I was driving, so I wasn't able to look at everything as carefully as she was. She said, that was not there before. And I said, well, I don't know what Wonderland is. By this time, the sat nav, what you call it, the GPS and stuff had started working again, and we could get online. And Wonderland, Telford, which Jodi typed in, turned out to be an Alice in Wonderland theme park, like a sort of mini Disneyland, where all the rides are to do with Alice-inspired ideas. And I thought, well, I've been looking online for the last few weeks over and over again about Alice in Wonderland and everything to do with her and any sites in Britain that were connected to her. That didn't exist. And I actually know 2 or 3 other people who'd lived in Telford for years and said, I'd never, ever heard of that. We got there. It's huge. It's a huge park with rides and everything. Wonderland. I mean, we look online, yes, it's there, but it seemed to us as if this sign for Wonderland suddenly appeared from nowhere, and so did this park. But it was only because this park existed that they had a specialist bookshop about Alice that we were able to get some very interesting information that we needed to find out. Well, it hasn't vanished again, as far as I know, but did an entire theme park come from nowhere? Did we jump into a world where there was a theme park to do with Alice? There's another Alice thing that seemed to have come from nowhere. We were in a town called Stafford because that's where it's the county town of Staffordshire, which is where Bidolf Grange is, where all these people met, and Mary Heath lived. And their county records are kept in this town of Stafford. So we were there, and I'd been there a number of times down a particular road there. And as we got to this particular road, there was a cafe there, and I think it was just what we call in England a greasy spoon cafe. It was the sort of place that did sausage, egg, and chips and stuff that British people eat. Well, the English anyway. So we went there. Suddenly, it had changed its name. It was now called the Mad Hatter's Tea Emporium. And it definitely wasn't that before. I mean, and I know lots of people who walked down that road and said they'd never seen it. We went inside. It was completely decked out Alice in Wonderland style, with posters on the wall to do with like the Johnny Depp Alice films. And there was a massive collection of Alice stuff. I mean, I've started collecting Alice stuff after that, things like this. The whole place was absolutely full of Alice memorabilia. There you go. There's a saucepan to do with Alice. Not a saucepan, a teapot to do with Alice. But the whole place just, was full of this stuff. And they did Alice-themed tea, afternoon tea. And I thought, have you just opened up? Oh, no, we've been here for 6 years. What? It was there for 6 years. And yet loads of people I know have been to that area and said, no, it was an old greasy spoon place. I think it was called the Espresso Cafe or something, but nobody remembered. So if we had, Jodi and I, jumped into a different universe where there was this Alice in Wonderland, Mad Hatter's Tea Emporium, how on earth was it that other people seemed to have jumped with us who weren't actually physically with us? I mean, it's just weird. There are loads more of these universe swaps that you can see if you read the book Strange Fate. There was one time we were driving over moorlands. Suddenly a mist came down. We got completely lost. We were stuck in this mist for about 5 minutes, exited the mist. It was beautiful sunny weather. We were going to a pub that we knew, an inn, a bar known as the Mermaid. And I've got pictures of it, photographs of it shown as the Mermaid. I'll put these in the film. When we got there, the name had changed to the Old Oak. We went inside. We said, have you recently changed the name? No, it's always been the Old Oak. It's never been the never been the Mermaid. And we showed them pictures of the signs outside. They wouldn't have it. Just like this guy that wouldn't have it. The fact that he'd shown us around the house, even though we'd got film of him. People didn't seem to be able to accept it. Then again, maybe I wouldn't if I was confronted with the same kind of crazy people. But what was weirder or just as weird, is when we were going there for lunch, and they said, well, you better hurry up, last orders are coming in. The kitchen closes in 5 minutes. Well, we thought you stayed open until 3 o'clock. I said, well, it is almost 3 o'clock. The 5 minutes that it took us to drive through the cloud, we'd driven into the cloud at about 12 o'clock, noon. 3 hours had vanished, and we found ourselves in this other universe. As far as I know, I've been checking it out over and over since. The Mermaid pub is still called the Old Oak, and there's no reference to it ever being called the Mermaid. The fire at Bidolf Grange still happened in 96 as opposed to 97. The Alice in Wonderland theme park is there and hasn't disappeared back to somewhere else. But I mean, there's loads of other strange seeming universe changes, or because so many other people seem to remember them as well, and because so many other sort of, shall we say, other things, like, for example, when we changed universes into a world where the fire was in a different date, all my notes and stuff on my computer all had the same date that I always had. So did my computer come with me? Was it dragged across into another universe? Or are we talking about some kind of patchwork universe? Anyway, that's about it. I'll be putting all this in this film I put together, and you'll see all the footage. And I've even got footage of people being extraordinarily surprised when they find out that something's not what they thought it was. So anyway, there we go. That's my talk for the day. Somebody says morning to me. Mark, hello, good morning to you. And there we go. But thank you for listening or watching. It's very early in the morning, so I gather a lot more of you will probably watch it as time goes by. I will have to sort something out where I do a regular spot doing this, so that people know in advance when I'm going to be doing it. I'll keep saying this, but once I get the new computer, I'll be set up. I would probably do it on maybe a Sunday afternoon when people haven't got much to do or something like that, but make a regular time. Anyway, thank you those for watching, and thank you to those who will watch. I don't think this went out of focus very much. So my camera seems to work. Okay, I don't know how to stop this. Oh, there, here we go. Bye-bye for now.